time for Common Man. Common man, charms the housewives like no one can. What'd you shoot? Where'd we play? Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Oh, boy. Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, hello?
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is King Awesome.
Out of hundreds of deals that I've done.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Rosa, you don't know nothing.
Mark, they can't pitch. They can't hit. What is with? I mean, come on.
That's a bunch of malarkey.
Well, I read the USA Today and I read the New York Times, and I read those both every day. And I listen to music. I wouldn't really. I mean, it wouldn't do me any good to listen to talk shows, because what's great about America, everybody has an opinion. You know what I mean? But what's also great about America, you don't have to listen to them, and that's the great part.
Yeah.
You're breaking up, Bob.
You're breaking up.
Yes! No! Stop! Let's go.
Hello. Okay, hold on.
I've seen enough out of Cousins, Paul. Put him on ice.
That was probably Zimmer being Zimmer.
A dog with a note in his mouth should be able to sell those ratings.
I'm going to say something controversial.
That's interesting.
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the north. This is the common man, Dan Cole.
That would be me. The drum begins in 5, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. 2, 1. Greetings, good afternoon, and ack, and dak, ack to you and yours, ack, dak, acks of passwords for tomfoolery and for skullduggery will not get me into hip cricket. We will not be doing text messages again today. I still have not. I've had 3 people now. I've had 5 people, actually 3, but more than 4, 6, 7, tell me they can get my email loaded on my phone, and not one of them has been able to do it. They go, I can do it in 6 minutes. I can do it in 5. It's sort of like Name That Tune. I can do it in 5 minutes. I can do it in 4. I can do it in 3. We can't get it. And then the coroner's office is in here today. I don't know where he is.
You've got to be kidding me.
I'm doing air quotes, working from home. Okay. But he was going to try to help me get my email here on the computer here in the studio, but then I guess he was planning something for the power trip instead. Probably got caught up in power trip stuff, so he wasn't able to do it. So we're without it today, but we have plenty to get to today. So that password will get you tomfoolery, skullduggery, but it won't get you into hip cricket. Now, we still got Vikings. They're on a roll. They're 1-0. They're still in the hunt. They're not done yet, and they get a Dallas Cowboys team. I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. The Wild, the Wolves are back in action. College football still reverberating with several teams saying we're out of the bowl series. Minnesota Golden Gopher men's basketball team, all they do is win Big Ten games. With so much to get to, I'm not sure where to begin. Let's spin the wheel of topic.
commute home last night?
Just under 2 hours. Left the parking ramp at, I bet it was 308, 39, 310, 306, 7, something like that.
I always love that one.
You know, there have been a lot of great technological advances over the years. The greatest invention of all time, it really wasn't an invention, I think it was a discovery, was fire, right? I mean, without fire, cavemen had to eat meat raw. Then you get E. coli. You get, I don't know, E. coli. What's the other one? What's the other really bad one that you get when you eat bad food? There's E. coli.
Just food poisoning?
Yeah, but no, there's a name for one of them. I thought you would know. I was hoping.
I'm not that bright.
Yeah, I was hoping you knew, but there's E. coli, then there's E. coli. Then the other one would be the wheel, right? I mean, before.
Salmonella?
That's it. Salmonella. Played, was a linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all those years ago. They won a big game.
There's also dysentery.
Dysentery is another one. That's not good.
Shigella,
ooh.
Staphylococcus aureus.
Yeah, those are all bad to get. And that's when you couldn't. Now, when it says something has to be heated to 106 degrees to be safe, do you stick a thermometer into one of those meat thermometers and make sure?
I have.
Yeah, I have too, because I'm just, I especially when you get older like me, apparently the older you get, the more susceptible you are to death. From food poisoning. Or like, you can die from the flu. But generally, if you're young, if you're in your 20s, like if you're Deuce or baby brother Peter, you're probably not going to die from it. But apparently when you get to be like me, I'm 6'7" right now, or about to be 6'7". You can die. It's just, you can. So I try to avoid getting the flu. I take my flu shot, though I've also heard that this flu shot, they may have missed the mark a little bit. So I'm just being a little careful.
Yeah.
But the wheel's a really good invention. I mean, think about if I had to walk to work today. Hell, my commute home last night, you think it was just under 2 hours, like $1.50. Think of how long it would have been last night walking. I'd still be walking right now. Snowshoes were a great invention for people that walked home, right? Another great invention was studded horseshoes for horses. That was the first. That's how horses were able to. The Clydesdales were able to.
I think you would have gotten home faster in snowshoes.
I may have. It's possible. So one of the other, the handheld computer, which doubles as a communication device. Your cell phone's the greatest thing ever, right? It has hundreds of different functions, including an invention for that is the GPS system, which is. You know, there was a time where back in the old, I think most people are aware of this, tend to be aware of this. Maybe you probably, you're old enough where you had to do this. Let's say I was going to, and this is a stretch, I was going to invite you over to my house, which I probably wouldn't do, but let's just say I was. I'd have to say,
oh boy.
Okay, you take 694 eastbound, then you get off on Lake, and then you go here, then you go there, you can Venmo this, and you can Venmo that. Then you can Venmo this, and you can take a right. And you can take a left, and you can take a right, and then go down to the third pine tree on the left. That's how you gave directions.
And the address is 1314 Insane Lane.
Did you ever get lost when you were traveling before GPS and you didn't have a map, and you'd stop at a gas station and ask the stupidest guy in town where you were? Didn't seem to make any sense to me. You just wanted to check your oil and fill your tank up with gas, and all the stars that never were are parking cars and pumping gas. So, wait, I didn't get to tell my story. It was a long wind-up, but we got
I'm sorry, we got KFC.
I know, we got.
Well, hell, I'm being late anyway, so you can just tell it on the other side of the
maybe
break.
that's what I'll do. I'll continue my commute home because I have. It's really more about GPS, and as wonderful as it is, there are some drawbacks to it. But let's do this. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Peek at the Purple. Next segment, maybe that's the KOC News Conference. We'll just call it the Peek at the Purple. Brian Oak, the legendary one, will join us at about 1:15 or so for Rock Talk, and then Rosen at 2. So much to get to here on the Common Man program on the Fan. KOC is next.
We all remember that one teacher who made a difference, who believed in us, challenged us, or just made learning fun. Now's your chance to say thank you in a big way with iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher, powered by Donors Choose. Nominate an outstanding public school teacher who's gone above and beyond for their students to win $5,000 to stock their classroom with whatever they need. Help us say thank you to the educator shaping our future. Nominate your favorite teacher now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
I was going to keep track of how many times I either shoveled / used the snowblower or / a combination of the both. I've already lost track. It's already been like 13, 14 times, 6, 7 anyway. Last night I did snowblower action. And then, of course, what happens is snowplow guy, dumps the big load at the end of the driveway, right? So I had to get that out this morning. And I have this thing where I have my wife get me up because there's nothing worse than if you don't blow the snow on the driveway before people leave. Did we talk about this?
Yeah, before the cars drive over it.
Pack all that snow down there, and it'll be there basically all winter unless it warms up. But so I did some cleanup down at the end, and it turned out really nice. I was very happy with my progress today.
The problem is the snow that the snowplow leaves gets in those big, thick clumps.
Correct.
And you kind of have to do those by shovel anyway.
Well, and I did. Well, and that leads me to what I wanted to talk about. I've talked about this. I've got industrial strength snowblower inherited from my brother when he first moved to California years ago. And it's like a 10-horse Simplicity. I mean, it's got 5 speeds. 1, 2, 3, 5. Basically, you have to run behind it. That's how fast it goes. It can pull you along. 2 reverses, slow and slower. And it just gobbles up the snow. So I'm able to go. You're right. Generally, you have to. And I did shovel. I use it for exercise. This morning, my wife said, she woke me up and she said, there was more snow last night after you got done with the snow blowing. And I know you don't like the tracks. Plus, there's snow at the end of the driveway. I don't know what you want me to do. So I jumped out of bed. Sort of like I sprung out of bed on dawn or Blitzen, Christmas morning. And I went down and I shoveled a path so half the driveway at the bottom so my wife could get out and not pack it down. And I shoveled that because I need the exercise because I think you're aware of this, Tenby. Radio is not heavy lifting.
No.
So it's like I don't get much exercise. The most exercise I get is propping up pillows on the couch as I'm getting ready to watch television or do a crossword puzzle or read news and sports on a handheld, which it doubles as, so I don't get a lot of workout. But there's a neighbor, and his driveway is, about the same length as mine. We're all about the same. We're on a cul-de-sac. I'm 1314 Insane Lane. He's got this puny little electric. He's got a cord. He has an extension cord. He's got an electric-powered snowblower, which sounds dangerous to me with all the water and ice and snow, right? But he's got it. And it's the puniest looking thing. It's like the whole thing isn't any bigger than a shoebox. I don't even know how it gets any snow. And he's down at the end of the driveway. And it's like, I felt bad for him. I want to say, you want me to come down there and do this for you? Because mine, I can do it in like just 2 passes and it's done. Go. And maybe he likes it that way. Maybe he likes the little small electrical one. But I like my big mine. Now, mine's not diesel powered. It could be. But I like a big one that really gets the job done. I got a man-sized snowblower. And there was a time I never used a snowblower. I used to think...
Man. Oh.
Yeah, I used to think snowblowers for people that were soft. Go ahead and shovel your snow. So when I bought my first house in before I went to 1314 Insane Lane, I'd be out there shoveling. My neighbors would be blowing snow, and I would be shaking my fist at them, going, "You're soft." Of course, they couldn't hear me over the din of their garage door closing as they were done with their driveway, and I still had 45 minutes to an hour to go. And I finally got smart and said, "You know what? There's being a man, and then there's being smart." Because men are generally not that bright anyway, so that I wouldn't got the snow. The snowblowers.
It cuts your time in half out there.
Well, not only even more than half, and then it also it eliminates backaches completely. There's no. When I do shovel, though, do you do it the proper way, Tenby? You get down low and lift with your legs. I see people don't lift with their legs, man. You're going to strain your back, and you're going to be in big trouble, man. So I think this was like snow shoveling, snow blowing 6 or 7 times so far. So we'll see how it goes. I do want to talk about the GPS. There's plenty to get to. We're tap dancing here, waiting for the arrival of the head coach of the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings. Peek at the Purple, brought to you by our friends at Affordable Electric. Matter of fact, I bet if my neighbors, if he blew a fuse using that snowblower, Affordable Electric could take care of it. For all of your electrical needs, affordable-electric.com. Affordable-electric.com. They are shockingly affordable. They are shockingly affordable. Ba, 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 ba. So, in regards to the Vikings and the quarterback and all of these, how far along is McCarthy, and should we have re-signed Danny Dimes or Josh Darnold? No,
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. Old Sam Darnold had an arm. E-I-E-I-O. And or should we have got Aaron Rodgers or let him go? And then, the question I've asked, and I'm waiting for somebody from the media to ask this question, I've been asking for a while now. They sort of said, we're done working on mechanics. Let's just have him go out there and wing it and play like he's playing sandlot football. And it worked really well this week. Now the opponent had something to do with that, but no one's asked him from the media that I'm aware of that said, well, why did you not do this at the beginning? And do you think you made a mistake by trying to run? Because, we talked about this yesterday, Tim. He has a very complex offense, like a lot of the guys do. McVay does, Andy Reid does, LaFleur. There's probably other offensive coordinators I'm leaving out that they have. I mean, they have playbooks as thick as the Chicago phone directory, right? And so they put all that on the plate of the young kid, and then they must have known his mechanics weren't very. Did they just notice that at the beginning of the season? Did they not see that on tape? Did they not see that at the combine? Did they not see that when he played for Michigan? So it's like you put the cart before the horse. Why didn't you? Because if you would have put the game plan they had against Washington, a disinterested Washington team that's lost like 7 or 8 in a row now, 6-7, it might have been completely different had they played a really good team. I don't know. But this gave him, they're saying, everybody in the organization, this was the thing to do, to slow things down, to make it not as complicated, not as thick of a playbook. Well, maybe they've done this early, and I don't know why they don't ask the coach, do you think that you probably should have done this early on? And I don't know what that accomplishes, but I'm curious as to why they didn't try to do it that way early, because now we just wasted a whole season. The season is gone, and yeah, we're beginning to learn if our alleged or our hoped for franchise quarterback, getting him reps and such like that. We also missed 7 games this year, or 6, whatever it was, with injury. So I don't know, but we keep hearing he was so bad up until this Washington game that a lot of people wonder if we should, instead of fishing, we just need to cut bait and move on. And then we've had a number of people, media, fans. It's like you're in one camp or the other. And the camp is this KOC?
No, I'm thinking about playing music, go to break.
Oh, well, he's going to start, isn't he?
Well, it's always the question of whether he's going to do it if you wait another 10 minutes or so.
Do we straddle the 45? Well,
that's what we would have to at this point, but then if he goes even longer than that, now we've really put ourselves in a bind.
Well, you do, but yeah, we got a break, I guess. Then. Because you're either in one camp or another. You think we have to have more patience, or we should cut bait. And the argument is always, Peyton Manning was awful in his first year, and they people give these examples. They're doing it again. I saw it the other day in one of the fish wraps. They're doing these examples of quarterbacks that were really bad in their first year and then turned it around to their Hall of Fame bound. What all of them are doing, there is a fatal flaw. They're leaving out a detail or two, and we'll get to those. Other side of the break, or what KOC is on the other side of the break, whatever the case may be. We'll break, we'll come back. We have more to get to, including the coach, here on the Common Man program on The Fan.
Babies cry, and that's normal, but if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to step away. Never shake a baby. Shaking can kill, and 1 in 4 don't survive. Survivors often face permanent brain damage. Learn more and give today at nevershakemn.com.
We wish you. Here's KOC, the head coach of the soon-to-be Big Game World Champion Minnesota
See if
Vikings.
we can stack a consistent performance as a team. I thought last Sunday was a great example of complementary football and when all three phases play a role in it, and do the things that win games, not do the things to contribute to losing games is obviously a no-brainer statement, but we've got to see if we can consistently stack some performances together. Really good team. Shotty's got those guys playing really well in all three phases. The additions on defense have shown up all over the tape. Really talented group. So we got to get going here. But also just wanted to highlight Brian O'Neill with the Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award. Not an award that gets a lot of attention, but I think you couldn't ask for a better leader and just representative of our organization and the best parts of our organization are our people and most importantly our players. And Brian is, the standard for that and someone who means the world to me. So hoping he can win that award.
Is wearing women's underwear part of your turn-on?
Kevin, just since Ryan Kelly has been back in the mix, how have you seen him kind of command the offensive line?
Yeah, I think you feel his presence, Matt. You feel from some of the simple things like consistency of the snaps and consistency of you can kind of check the box knowing you're going to get quality play out of the center position. And like I said after the game, I think he played a really, really good game. Physical, total command. The offensive line as a whole played very, very well in that game. And I think Ryan was a huge part of it. Everything happens inside out in football, whether it's the center, the quarterback, the protection, on and on. So I think he's huge for us.
Kevin, sticking with the offensive line, did you know Donovan Jackson was as tough as he was through the pre-draft process, or have you learned more about that this year?
Obviously, I know their head coach there pretty well, and some of the other guys there, and you get a lot of ringing endorsements on players because these coaches and programs care about these guys a bunch and fought like crazy to help them win. But you can just look at the data sometimes on a guy and see a guy playing at that level of football for as many games as he did. It's well documented, the move from guard to tackle just in the snap of a finger, and he's playing against a guy that was a top 5 draft pick, and just no flinch whatsoever, no real regard for anything more than the team. And the toughness you have to have the physical toughness to go along with the commitment and the mental toughness that Donovan has, and he was great for us to have him back in there, and just collectively that group of 5 guys up there, seeing what they can do over the course of 4 quarters against a quality front in Washington, and obviously this week before they made the additions, they were a pretty talented group, and now they're one of the better fronts in football with the addition of Q and obviously Logan at the linebacker position. So and they've gotten healthy, so there's a lot of players that look different on tape now in these last 2-3 weeks than maybe if you watch some of those games from early on in the season.
Kevin, with last week, your message to JJ about just decision making, is that something you're going to probably continue the rest of the regular season, or do you anticipate other things might ramp up just to try to?
No, I would stay consistent, and it's really been that way from the beginning.
What have you thought of the season Jordan has had?
Yeah, I think I have felt a real growth in the way he plays football. His impact in the run game for a guy that's not the biggest guy in the world, but physical, and a lot of times when there's some usual characteristics to runs, against good fronts that end up showing up, whether it's Josh Oliver, whether it's our, the health of our line, the vision and the feel of the running backs, but then our receivers. I mean, J.A., Jordan Addison, Justin in big moments showing up. So that's one area. But then I also think he's gotten a lot better playing through contact. I think he's gotten a lot better understanding the nuances of the early part of the down as a receiver, running routes that help him later on in the down, where his true elite ability, where maybe he's not the biggest guy, the strongest guy, but his quickness and separation skills at the top of routes and how much more that can be enhanced by some details early on in the snap to help him do so. Obviously, our pass game as a whole, statistically, is not where we've kind of gotten used to being from a standpoint of in totality. But I think there's going to be some plays there down the stretch here for him to make, and he would probably tell you that there's a couple he remembers that he could have made and we didn't make. But that's all part of the journey of a season, and he's still a young player. But I think the way he came off of the start of the season, having to sit and watch for 3 games and then kind of hit the ground running, speaks to the offseason he had, which was very, very good, and just the growth of a guy with experience now, and a lot of time on task, but also a lot of results. 20 plus touchdowns or whatever he has, and learning how to impact the game and make sure his skill set that got him to the NFL is being enhanced by the things that help him along the way.
Kevin, stand in that room. What does it mean to have a leader like Justin Jefferson, who's maybe not having the season he wants personally, but continues to show the smile on his face and works hard in front of everybody else?
Yeah, he's even when he doesn't have a smile on his face, he's still the same guy. He every single day means the world to this organization, and you look at a play late in the game, the 4th and 2 touchdown to Hawkinson. I mean, the second Justin breaks the huddle, he knows he just went from being the first progression on the play to, because of the coverage they tried to play, even in a pure progression system, Justin understands, hey, it's red 2, and I'm going to have to outside release this corner and take him 4 or 5 yards in the end zone to open up the window for TJ, and then there's nobody more excited. Or the 3rd down catch Addison makes on 3rd and 9 on the 12-minute drive. Justin's the first pure progression on that play, and ends up turning around and celebrating because he knows, hey, it was a loaded coverage look to me. The cloud corner took me away. There's a void behind me, and JJ threw it in rhythm and threw a great ball, and Jordan made the play. So the football intelligence is off the charts. Justin, with myself over the last 3 years, we've seen every coverage known to man in that pure world, and his ability to handle that and learn and grow. He plays football at a wildly elite level between the years, and then his physical skill set, his impact on the organization, the impact on much more than just people in this building, clearly as the best in the world at what he does, is, he's phenomenal.
Kevin, on the pure progression thing, do you think it's possible in today's game, whether it's Vikings or not, or your quarterback or not, to have reverse, to only be reading defenses and not?
Pure progressions, you read defenses. You read individual players within coverages, and you attack voids and vacancies based upon the way the play is set up. If it's man-to-man, if it's zone, what kind of zone? Is it a cloud defense? Is it a version of quarter, half, quarter? Is it a loaded zone in the interior of the field, either hook or buzz coverage? All of those players, no matter what you label it on the chalkboard, all those players have individual responsibilities within a defense. And if all of them do their jobs perfectly while reading the eyes of the quarterback and being, having their landmarks of their zoning coverage responsibilities adjusted based upon where the quarterback's eyes are. And then if the quarterback applies the knowledge of coverage to that said progression, you can progress quickly, you can process quickly, and you could be accurate to throws with anticipation, knowing that the voids and vacancies have been created by said concept. And then there's also plays where you have to read coverage to know where the starting point is of the play. Receivers have to be able to do it because of the adjustments of routes. And then ultimately, protection and blitz pickup and things have an impact as the game has evolved, and it's no longer just zero coverage or 3 under 3 deep fire zone or just man pressure. Now there are hot pressures. Now there's palms coverage. Now there's, in many cases, doubles within those coverages on Justin or other players on our team. Maybe there's 2 doubles. There's a lot of layers to that, and it takes a lot of time to talk about, but I would say that I thought the doctor did a nice job talking about it yesterday.
What's the learning curve like on that? When you're a quarterback coming from college and everything's just more deceptive coverage-wise, and
four complex in the NFL.
And it's not only that, it's the tighter hash marks where the inside of the field, if you're on the left hash in college, there's an extra however many yards of space. It's harder to defend the middle of the field in college because there's so much of it between the numbers are wider, the hashes are wider. Everything happens faster. The discipline of your drop to be able to say yes or no to any progression. There was a Hall of Fame quarterback that I once played with that really talked about no matter what the progression is on a read sheet or whether it's a coverage read, a pre-snap look read, a pure progression with an alert, a man alert within a progression. They're all progressions, and the starting points are your ability to get there and where you decide the starting point of that progression is, and using your feet and eyes and rhythm of the drop to find the completion on the play. And then once you're able to do that, whether it's a check down, whether it's an underneath throw, whether it's a vertical passing game throw, they all have negative effects on the defense, and each completion then has a negative effect on their ability to maintain the discipline of the coverage on the next play.
Kevin, you work really hard to try and get your guys to approach every game the same way, but when you're playing against this team in that stadium in a primetime game, is there just a little more juice with the combination of those things coming up?
Playing Dallas.
Yeah. In that stadium, primetime, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I just look at every single one of these as we did a lot of the little things well in a game. Last Sunday at US Bank Stadium against that team. This is just another team from that division in our conference on the road, playing the game at night. We won't have to deal with the glare of the sun coming through the windows like you do at a day game at that stadium sometimes. But I look at it more as, it's hard to win in the NFL. Every team, no matter what uniform they're wearing or what their record is, this is the highest level football in the world, and every game is hard and takes doing a lot of little detailed things that we talk a lot about: fundamentals, technique, schematics, discipline of, like we talked about with Justin, a little detail on the play that everybody just looks at it as another play. He didn't get the ball, but Justin looked at it as an opportunity to get somebody else open with how that coverage played out. Like, there's thousands of those things that take place in a game, and the team that does those things more, the little things more, and more of their 11 guys on the field consistently doing that, contribute to what the score ends up being. And it doesn't mean you're 31 points better than this team or that much worse than that team. It just means that on that day for 60 minutes in that game, those are how the little things all played out.
Yeah. Where is Theo Jackson working together?
Yeah, Theo should be able to, he got a little bit more clarity from, our medical staff, and then also some expert opinions outside, and he should be able to work back in this week. But we'll see how he does with practice today, and then how he transitions throughout the week. But hoping to have him.
Kevin, within the peer progression conversation, when do you feel like some of the teaching of it kind of evolved?
I think just from a nature of where the game's kind of gone to. I mean, I showed the team 3 or 4 of our defensive snaps from the other day where, I know what the coverage is because it's on the screen. But if you paused it throughout the time, from the time the ball hits the quarterback's hands to the top of his drop, you'd be hard pressed to know that that's what coverage it is. And there's just a lot of variations that. I'm not going to say that they didn't exist back in the day. I don't want to be that coach either, because I have so much respect for people that have played this game, and the level that our league is and has always been is as good as it gets, and will always be that. But I think the evolution of just the way the game is played, and maybe it's some of the rules that have adjusted the way, you can throw the ball over the middle now, and there's consequences for defenders, taking away throws at the catch point that didn't exist back in the day when you had some of these, the Ronnie Lotts of the world. You didn't throw that ball no matter what coverage it was, if he was standing in the middle of the field. Like, that existed, and just the evolution of the game and the smart ways we protect players and how it's changed the game a little bit has required defensive coaches to start finding new ways of trying to make the quarterback say no to those throws for different reasons now. And then I think you just have many, many examples of, quarterbacks that have been Hall of Fame level of processors reading defenses, and no matter what you tried to play, they could figure out those things at a very, very high clip. But what we don't talk about is a lot of the other guys that maybe weren't able to have the kind of success doing that because maybe they needed to have the ability to just do their jobs on a play. But with all that being said, there's still elements of every coverage where there's a hook player, there's a quarter flat player, there's a fire flat player. Like, I could throw out term after term, and those coverages all still have the same terms within them. It's just the picture, the transition to the final picture has changed a little bit, whether it's the Fangio system, whether it's, the Seattle cover 3 teams that then started to pair that with quarters. But really, when you pause that tape, is it any different than what, just guys maybe being named something different, but it's really they're in the same spots and they're doing a lot of the same things. But yet you would break it down as a totally different play, coverage. So, it's one of those things where it's a hard question to answer. I think it's hard for, maybe people with certain levels of experience and success doing it one way to look at it a different way. We do basically whatever's required to try to have success against a given team. If there's less disguise, you can have more coverage reads. If there's more disguise and more of an emphasis put on that, that means they're not putting an emphasis somewhere else where maybe you've got to play the game differently. And then the interpretations of what that game plan is going to be what it is. And then we move on to the next one and get ready to try to win another game.
And there you have it.
The quarterbacks, Philip Rivers coming back.
Yeah.
What through your mind when you saw that?
Yeah, I actually, believe it or not, was, I know Philip pretty well from San Diego and got a chance to be his teammate at one point. He's one of my favorite people that I've ever been around. Very short amount of time professionally, but, we've become close over the years. So I was actually getting ready to text him happy 44th birthday coming up, and then I may have added a line or two once I saw that report, but not surprised at all. I know for a fact he's got a full-scale practice field at his house, and he's got enough folks in his family to form a team if he needs to. But no, Philip Rivers is, he is one of the best to ever do it. And I wouldn't put anything past him. There's very few people that just the type of person, the leader, the competitor, and just the fact that he's, the Hall of Fame caliber player that he is. I'm sure he's looking at it. I've not talked to him, but I'm sure he's looking at it as what an unbelievable op if that ends up being what happens, and wouldn't put it past him to play at a really, really high level like he always did.
And there you have it. As the head coach of the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings. The question that I don't have an answer to is Justin Jefferson a good teammate? Oh, that's been established. Close circuit to all the assembled. We don't need to ask that ever again. He's a wonderful teammate. He's the best teammate that's ever been on the face of the earth. He's all for one and one for all, and he wants the team to win. So I think the coach even was kind of tired of answering that question because there's been 25 to 30 stories written about that in the past 2 weeks. So we understand that he's a really good teammate. That's all good. So when people are doing they do the old, well, Troy Aikman and John Elway and Peyton Manning, they were really terrible in their first years. And there was a recent story just the last couple of days where it actually put some numbers with it. Peyton Manning in his first season with the Colts, completion percentage was 56.7, 26 tutties, 28 interceptions, passer rating is 71.2. His brother Eli, 48.2. He was 6 tutties, 9 ints, passer rating of 55.4. Terry Bradshaw's first year with the Steelers back in like 1970, 38.1 completion percentage. He was 6 tutties, 24 ints, 30.4 passer rating. Aikman, 52.9, 9 and 18, 55.7. Elway, 47.5, 7 tutties, 14 ints, 54.9 passer rating, and Josh Allen, 52.8, 10 tutties, 12 in, 67.9. And then the writer of the piece did point out there have been thousands of quarterbacks drafted in the first round that have failed. Here's what was left out of this story, though, that I think is important to it. Conveniently left out, or just maybe didn't consider it, or, couldn't find the information. But in the case of all of those quarterbacks, Manning he was drafted in 1998. In 1997, the Colts were 3-13. They were a terrible team. He joined a terrible team. Eli Manning was drafted in 2004. The Giants in 2003 were 4-12. Terry Bradshaw was drafted in 1970. You know what their record was in 1969? They were 1-13. Troy Aikman was drafted in 1990. In 1989, the Cowboys.
Yeah, we know they were bad.
The Cowboys were 3-13. John Elway, now remember, he was actually drafted by the Colts, but said, I will not play for the Colts, and demanded a trade, went to Denver. But the Colts were the ones that drafted him. They were 2-14 in 81, and then in the strike-shortened year, they were 0-8-1. The Bills, now they were 9-7 the year before they drafted Josh Allen. J.J. McCarthy, the year they drafted him, they were 7-9 the year before, but he missed the following season, which they went 14-3, so he went to a 14-3 team. So my point is, do you think Peyton Manning would have had better numbers and performed better in his rookie year had he been playing for a team that was coming off a 14-3 record? Ditto Eli, Bradshaw, Aikman, Josh Allen. I mean, you got to factor it all in there.
Well, and those were all rookie seasons for those quarterbacks.
Exactly.
I get this is his first year playing, but it is his second year as a pro.
That is true. So it's all of that. And again, this is not, I just want, it needs to all be, everything has to be put out there. And you and I have both said, we've not given up on the kid. I loved how he played on Sunday. I hope he becomes the greatest quarterback in Vikings history, which isn't too hard. I mean, the only really great one we ever had was Fran Tarkenton. We had bits and pieces of other people. Cunningham had a nice year. Keenum had a nice year. Culpepper had a couple of decent years. Kirk had a few years. So we've had some guys have some decent years. But I'm talking about sustained consistency where you go, this is our franchise quarterback. And I hope it happens. But you're trying too hard to convince people to stay patient. I think we're all going to stay patient. Plus, we don't have any choice in the matter. He's going to quarterback every game for the rest of the season, or probably quarterback all of next season as well. Let's take a break. When we come back, Tenneby's got 5-3-4 for us. What you got, Tenneby?
Yeah, what is the Wolves' biggest weakness?